All hell is about to break loose. Hey, everybody, you're watching Bull Boom, Bear Bust, back with an economic edge report for you today. And we're going to get into what I see playing out here in the next few months. And I really hope as many people as possible chime in down in the comment section of this video because I'm seeing a lot of very wide variance of views and thoughts about what's happening and where we're headed. Now, if you've been on this channel, you know that I've been predicting for a long time, all the way probably before last summer, so about a year, that 2024 was going to be a wild, wild year. What did we just see? We saw a former president get convicted of multiple felonies, first time in history for this type of prosecution, right, towards a former president. So it's very interesting the way things are playing out. Now, the way I see it is by this summer, I think July could be as soon as later this month, but I think definitely July, August, we're going to start to see some unrest unfolding here in the US. And there's an economic part of all this, right? We have a lot of people, they're stressed out about the economy. Many people are hitting the financial wall right now with the amounts of debt, with the high interest rates, with the record credit card debt getting bigger and bigger each time we look at it. The pile of debt, so many people in debt bondage right now. The American dream of buying a home is just a pipe dream for so many people. And in fact, we've got some numbers we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. But here's what I see playing out. I think what's happening with the prosecution that we just spoke about is controlled opposition, right? I think it's a show. I think it's controlled opposition as a way to divide people, because the more people are divided, the less they're going to be complaining about the economy, right? It's going to be right versus left. And I don't belong to any party. I'm not on the right. I'm not on the left. I think both sides are pretty much a scam. That's what I think. And I think it's controlled opposition with what we're seeing as far as this court situation and the felony counts. And I think that's going to be used as a way to keep people divided, to keep people distracted from what's happening economically. People will not be looking as much at the central bank and how they basically got us into this mess, how the politicians over many, many decades have outsourced the jobs overseas, how this cost of living nightmare is basically a tax on Americans. And let's get into some economic news that's going to, I think, underpin a lot of what we're talking about here. But I see unrest and big things playing out this summer to create chaos and a big distraction, in my opinion, right? So let me know what you think about that. Well, let's go ahead and start right here. Here's a sign, to me, a sign of economic distress. Shooting at Metro Detroit. I could say the word Detroit Chipotle over guacamole. Folks, people are this stressed out about making their dollars stretch as far as possible that we have this type of thing playing out here. And this is, of course, it had happened in Detroit. Metro Detroit Chipotle shooting over somebody not getting enough guacamole. It's a real headline, folks. I'm not making it up. It's a real headline. I just put it up there for you to see. Um, Surveillance video showed a man going behind the counter at the Chipotle restaurant after getting into an argument with an employee over the portion size or the amount of guacamole. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. Just wanted to lead with that story here, but take a look at the savings rate. Savings rate did not recover. They just came out with the April number. Of course, we saw 4.1% in January. This is the amount of money people have left in their savings after paying their monthly bills, and it's not pretty. February dropped to 3.8%. March dropped even lower to 3.6%. I had speculated here that because of taxes, you may not see it drop again in April. That's just what happened. It stayed rather at 3.6%. Now, I think when we get the May numbers and then going forward, I think it's going to continue to drop. Why? Because the war on inflation is not being won. The rate of inflation and cost of living going higher, the rate of that may have slowed down. It may have slowed down, but it's not dropping. We need deflation. We need falling cost of living, falling prices, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing the housing market propped up. We're seeing dealers hoard vehicles and buying overflow lots and renting overflow lots to put all the extra vehicles on the lot because vehicles are so unaffordable, but they're not dropping the prices very much. And they're just renting out lots to put these vehicles in storage and to have room for all the vehicles that are not selling. I think what the car dealers are waiting for is another drop in interest rates. With all this talk of interest rates being cut, we did hear that for months. We heard about, oh, rate cuts, rate cuts, rate cuts, because the war on inflation was being won. That's what they told us. But of course, all the numbers came out, even the manipulated phony numbers came out, showing that the war on inflation actually was not being won. In fact, it was being lost. Then you see these other numbers like the savings rate. You see people pulling their money out of the retirement accounts. You see the number of people behind on their credit card, delinquencies rising for auto loans, even home foreclosures increasing. And that's with all the government backing of most of the mortgages that are given right now. We still have delinquencies rising for homes as well. So it's getting very interesting. But some other news I wanted to put out here or show you, which is pretty wild in my opinion. This is a real article out of NerdWallet. Imagine this: 84 and 96 month auto loans. They're actually asking the question: this is a good or bad idea, folks? 84 months, do my math right, divided by 12. 84 months is 7 years, and a 96-month loan would be an 8-year loan, folks. Where does it stop? Are we going to be talking about 9, 10-year loans pretty soon? Because if you could just continue to stretch out the payments, then you can somehow get people into a lower monthly payment, which is, I think, bad. So some of these vehicles that are selling right now, let's say you buy a used vehicle, get an 8-year loan, you'll be lucky if you get the vehicle to last the 8 years, all right? And then what about home insurance? Home insurance, the mortgage is already 30 years. Are they going to stretch that out to 40, 50 years? We had joked about this in the past, but it's getting to a point now where home prices aren't coming down. People are starting to seriously think about that and consider that. Another way to keep the housing market propped up, to keep the bubble from bursting, to keep prices elevated. Who knows? I mean, it's already ridiculous now. If you look at a lot of millennials and even Gen Xers, a lot of them are living at home until they're in their late 20s, early 30s. And if they're lucky, they might buy their first home by the time they're 35. You're 35 years old, you get a 30-year mortgage. You might pay it off by the time you're 65. Right? So basically, you're working your whole life to pay off the home. Maybe not even that, because a lot of people are actually moving back home right now. In fact, another number just came out on that. Let me grab this data for you here. Take a look at some recent data here about the cost of living, the cost of homes, the cost of rents. Renters aren't moving. 1 in 6 renters live in the same home for 10 years on average or more. Also, News Nation reported renters staying put for longer as home prices and rents soar. So what do we tell you was going to be one of the sticking points with the housing market? One of the things keeping home prices up, one of the things, and there's many things, but one of those things is rents are historically high right now. It used to be that rents were a bargain compared to owning a home, right? That was the trade-off, right? You don't build any equity renting, but the trade-off was you had a lower monthly payment. Now, not so much. Even with the high mortgage rates, rents are still enormous, and there's not much of an incentive for home sellers to sell their home and then go rent, right? If you could sell your home and then go rent, and your monthly payment will be half of what your mortgage was, or less what your carrying cost was, that would be incentive to sell. We're not seeing that now. So homeowners are thinking about selling, and they're looking at what it would cost to rent. And they're saying, why? I'm going to pay just as much in rent or almost as much in rent as I pay right now to keep the house. Right? So that's one of the things. You also have mortgage rates. A lot of people locked in a super low mortgage rate. A lot of factors behind this. But folks, this is pretty serious to a lot of people. A lot of people are renting for life and not building any equity. And I just read a pretty sad statistic. 1 in 2 homes sold in California currently are sold to non-occupants, meaning people that are buying the home not to live in themselves, but to rent it out. So you have investors, both big and small, companies, investment firms, etc. So anytime we have that type of profit motive in the housing market, it's going to create a affordability crisis, right? That combined with all the problems, all the ultra low interest rates for 10 plus years, The government coming in and backing most of the loans now, so these non-bank lenders can keep loaning out more and more and more mortgages without worrying about defaults because the government's going to buy all the loans. You see what I'm saying here, folks? A lot of ingredients are playing out to this cost of living storm nightmare that we're seeing right now. And let me ask you a question. Does any one of you think, watching this channel right now, does any one of you watching this think it's going to get better if they just keep throwing more and more money at the issues here? Right? So what created this mess? They're just doing more of it. They're throwing more fuel on the fire. In fact, let's talk about other countries that have done this. And it's going to happen more slowly here with the US dollar. But here's Venezuela. The inflation got so bad, they did a lot of the currency. This was reportedly Venezuela. Now, this began back when it was mostly paper currency, but it's even worse now because it's mostly digits. It's mostly just digits on the screen. They don't even do mostly paper anymore. More than 90% of currency in existence right now is mostly numbers on a screen. It's digital. It's not even physical paper anymore for the most part. And folks, they're still flooding the system with money, the central bank, and this inflation nightmare is going to continue to get worse because it's the only solution they know is throwing more fuel on the fire. And you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to Jerome Powell here. Bring up a clip for you here. And go ahead and take a listen here for yourself. This was a excerpt out of a 60 Minutes interview, I believe.
You simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did.
So to lend to a bank, we simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account that they have with the Fed.
Use a computer to mark it up. Type, type, type. You work your whole life to make money. They can create trillions of dollars. The click of a mouse on a computer.
So it's much more akin, although not exactly the same, but it's much more akin to printing money than it is to borrowing.
You've been printing money.
Well, effectively.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digital.
Flooding the system with money.
Yes, exactly.
And there's no end to your ability to do that.
There is no end to our ability to do that.
No end, folks. There you have it. There you have it. Will there be an end? I think a lot of us might see the end before they quit doing this money creation, folks. It's pretty sad, but it's true. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Unrest by the end of summer. My call right here. Keep this video saved to see if I'm right. I'm hoping I'm going to be wrong, but we've been right about most things so far, everybody. Keep stacking. Thanks for being here. Big love. Bye for now. Peace.